Hello everyone and welcome back to another video and another dual rule update. It is now the end of January, and since last month's stream, but also since last month's video, Marcus and I have read each other's stories. So I have finally read Niam's story and he has finally read all about Lid. Getting to read Niam's story was a lot of fun, and it was really fun to see how Marcus has taken the things that we have planned out and actually written them, and also to have him see what I've done with Lid's side of the story. There were a few things I'd forgotten about that he included in his that I was like, did we even talk about this? But I'm pretty sure we did, and even so, it was fun to just get to read them. Now, we have discovered a few discrepancies between the stories, things where, especially where they merge or when they're experiencing the same thing. For example, the fire part of Inferno Valley, which is where they meet for the first time and then go apart again and go their different ways. We've written very differently, and also how it feels to use the powers. Mark has done a lot better job at this because Niam also uses his powers, unlike Lid, who like, oh no, I don't want to touch those. But he's written it really, really well, and I'm gonna let him talk about how he's done that, maybe in his video or in a stream or when you read it down the line. And then we also didn't have the same understanding of the size of a city that Lid is in. I thought it was a pretty big city, and so I wrote it as a pretty big city. But according to what Marcus had interpreted, it's a small fishing village. So we need to settle that. We need to decide what happens there and how big it actually is. Apart from reading the other person's side of the story, we have also gone through and made comments as we read, and then we sat down the other day and went through the comments and discussed, did I misinterpret this? Should this be done differently? I really like how you did this. I should incorporate that in mine, and stuff like that. And it occurred to me once again that this is not my favorite part of the writing process. My favorite part is drafting. Writing a fairly chaotic first draft is my absolute favorite. Sitting down and going through and making notes, and I don't mind making notes, but rather figuring out ways to implement the notes, knowing that it's a whole other, you know, couple cycles of doing this until it's better, until that's done, is not my favorite part. I do like talking about it and breaking it down and being like, oh, it would be really cool if it was this way instead, but actually deciding to make it that way is not my favorite. But all in all, we have a really good story. It is still the first half of the story, unless it's actually the first book of a duology, unless it's the first book of a trilogy, because those thoughts have started to marinate in our minds as well. But either way, it's really good. Obviously there are things we need to fix, absolutely there are things we need to fix, but it also makes sense because we haven't actually looked at each other's until this point, and there are things we've interpreted differently, like I said. Now, we are still a little undecided as to what our next step is. On Saturday the 29th at 1 PM UTC, the stream, link down below, we are going to talk about what we've come up with during this time, what we've realized that we need to figure out or change, or we actually didn't put enough of this into the planning or the brainstorming before, and how does this thing work. So that's something we're going to do on Saturday. But we would also like to decide what we're going to do moving forward. Are we going to go back and rework this section one more time? Are we going to get into writing the second half or the second third, depending on of the story, of the series, of whatever? And in order to do that second thing, we realized we do need to plan more. We've spent a lot of time together with you guys. We've spent a lot of time working on the first side of the story, the first part of the story, i.e. the part we've already now written. We don't have as much for the second part. We know where they are, we know a few things that happen, and we do know sort of the end, but that needs to be fleshed out more. So in order to do that, we're adding in an extra stream in February. So we're going to do one on the 12th, links down below, information down below, and that's going to be dedicated hopefully to planning and plotting and brainstorming for the future of the story, the later part of the story. And it's likely that the check-in stream in February will also be dedicated to planning, plotting, brainstorming, so we get a bit more to work on, basically, so we figure out what we're going to write. And speaking of streams, Marcus has also taken on doing the daunting task of taking all of the thousands of streams that we've done, all the dual rule planning streams and world building streams and plotting and all that, all those streams, and breaking them down into more bite-sized pieces and you know, cutting out unnecessary things and just making it easier to come in and see those streams, either to freshen up your mind, which I know I could use, or if they're your first introduction to the dual rule situation project, you don't need to watch through 36 plus hours of footage. Now, I'm not saying these are going to be 5-minute long each, but they're going to be more bite-sized, and he's hoping to start putting those out in February, so that's really exciting, and it's a really big project. And yeah, it's going to be nice to be able to go back and watch those. And for transparency here, I didn't say I wouldn't do it, he just said he really wanted to, so he got to do that. Now, as a final note here before I end this video, I got a vision for the cover of this book. So I'm gonna insert a video here, a clip here of my very poor drawing of it. But I imagine it looking a bit like a playing card. And I'm not saying the lid has to be the top one and Liam has to be the bottom one, but sort of split like a queen card or king card in a deck of cards would be, but with two different sides. So on one side we have lid and we have Tev and her background and other things that are important to her side of the story and her life. And on the other half, we have Niam and Bodhi and things related to Niam's life. I think that could be really cool. Obviously, it should look a lot better than this. No one would pick up this book, including me. But I thought it was a cool idea and I wanted to draw it so that I would remember what I thought of, and yeah. I mean, we have no idea if we're ever going to publish this. We have no idea if we're ever going to have a cover that looks anything like this for it. But I had a good idea. And I'm not skilled enough at Photoshop to actually try to make this look good. So enjoy my 3 ink strokes on a piece of paper. But anyway, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I will have Marcus's video linked down below, as well as Saturday's stream, January 29th at 1 PM UTC. That will also be linked down below, and hopefully also the stream on February 12th. At least the information about that stream will be down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with another video soon, so I'll see you then. Bye!